Welcome to the In Search of More podcast. I am your host, Ellie Nash. Join me weekly on my quest for more from myself and more from this world. We'll see you on the other side. All right, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm sitting here with Benji Elson, author of Dance of the Omer.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess before we jump in, I have to apologize in advance because I'm a little bit rusty. So ask any questions that are inappropriate or too personal, or if I
we'll
don't.
roll with it.
Just excuse me from the outset. It's been a few months since I've done this regularly. So excuse me for that. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's hear about your story. I had a teacher taught me to speak publicly. I had a terrible fear of public speaking maybe 10 or so years ago. And Roshlo took me under his wing and taught me a little bit. And one of the things he taught me was that before I say something, I should tell people who's saying it. Like for someone can get up in front of the room and give some sort of powerful message about how we should never give up no matter how hard life gets. But until we know what that person did, we don't really know what they're talking about. Never give up no matter how hard life gets. And someone's sitting in the audience and saying, like, I lost both my legs. Who the hell's this guy?
Right.
But then if the guy says his story and he's been through something and now he says it, so then there's some credibility behind it.
Right, totally.
So,
yeah. Should we start with what I'm doing now first, or should we go straight to the story?
Just totally violate Rosh's edict.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I think tell us your story, where you grew up and
okay,
how you got to here. I mean, your whole life has led to this moment, the In Search of More podcast. You realize?
Amazing.
Everything you've done in your life, every choice you've ever made has led to this exact moment.
In humid Florida.
On the In Search of More podcast. So all the Rebbes you stood online to meet, to get a blessing from, it all led to this moment.
Amazing.
Right here. So
okay. So who am I? What's my story? So I grew up in Pesach, New Jersey. Very sweet. I like to say that I had a wonderful childhood and a terrible teenage years, but I think you can really say that about anywhere. Being a teenager is hard. I grew up in the yeshiva world, Haredi. By choice, also, I wore black and white for basically every day of my life.
Until today?
Right. Now it's a little bit color. And I was really into it. I was an ehrlich little boy. And as I got older, I started asking more questions. And the truth is, actually, I started doing comparative religion in second grade. I would come home from school, I would take the Encyclopedia Britannica CD-ROM, put it in, started with Judaism, because that's what I knew, and followed the hyperlinks and, got into Christianity, Islam, shamanism, paganism, Hinduism, Buddhism, all sorts of things. And I printed that. They're still in my parents' house. I printed everything out. I would read through them. So in second grade, I was starting on some spiritual journey. And then in 8th grade already, growing up, I didn't listen to any non-Jewish music until 9th grade, when I was introduced to Ozzy Osbourne. That was like my first, and Bon Jovi. And, didn't talk to any girls, didn't listen to non-Jewish music. And in 8th grade, I started asking slightly deeper, maybe, questions than my peers. And I wasn't satisfied with the answers. Often people struggle and they say, I wasn't allowed to ask questions growing up in Orthodoxy. But I think it's a little imprecise, because questions are always welcome, right? Every rabbi likes being asked questions, every educator. But the issue is that usually the answers are superficial. Usually the answers are no good, and we're not happy with them wherever we are in life, or often, they're not, they're superficial.
You don't think there are times people are raised in environments that they're not allowed to think? In other words, not allowed to ask questions?
Yeah. Definitely some, but the majority of the Orthodox world, even the Jewish world, we're told that the Gemara. That's what everyone's learning. We're asking questions. Hashkafa questions maybe are a little different,
Right.
but I think as a rabbi myself, I love when people ask me questions. Every rabbi loves getting questions. The issue is sometimes, often maybe, the answers are a little too simple or. So that was going on, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to Masifta and Muncie, next year. They'll have all the answers. They're the wise elites of Judaism, and I get there and it's the same. What seemed to me superficial answers. Could be I was also a teenager, but and then on top of that, also there was the people that were giving those answers. I saw very quickly that they're not role models that I wanted to emulate. And the yeshivish broken educational system. I hear it's changing. Maybe in Florida it's already in a different stage. But so both those together, I decided okay, Judaism's not a valid spiritual path for me, and I started to explore. I didn't take out those sheets that I printed in second grade, but I got into meditation. I got into Buddhism. I got into Hinduism. And the only thing I wanted to do at the end of high school was, I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go to yeshiva in Israel. I wanted to go to ashrams in India.
Oh, so you're like a true fry-out. You're not like the light ones.
Right. There's the fry-outs in teenage years, and then there's the fry-outs in mid-20s.
Right. That are into Snickers and movies or whatever,
Right.
It's like, I'm going to eat non-chalav Yisrael. I'm going to go to some movies.
Right.
You were like, I'm going to believe in...
I was looking for, the truth. I'm looking for spirituality.
I respect it, yeah.
Yeah. So it took me a little time. I didn't go right away at the end of high school, but I got to the ashrams in India. Very, at 19 years old, I was backpacking through India, meeting amazing people, sitting at the feet of gurus, meditating for days and hours at time. And the story is a little bit too long to get into fully here, but one of the pivotal moments, I got into a battle of wills with one of the gurus in one of the ashrams, and in that whole struggle, I was meditating for 10 days of Vipassana retreat, if you've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so the Vipassana retreat, and there
it's a silent retreat, no talking.
Silent retreat, no talking,
no writing.
Is just the icing on the...
No writing, no reading, no interacting.
No writing, no reading, no eye contact, no working out, no... barely any eating. We had puffed rice. No, we had porridge, rice porridge in the morning. We had cooked rice in the afternoon, and we had puffed rice in the evening with a glass of tea. So going really, really deep inside, and my whole trip to India was figuring out if I was going to be Buddhist or Jewish. I had the Pintaliyid was still somewhat alive, and
but either way, it was going to be an all-in.
Yeah, either way.
Like the conclusion was going to be whichever one I choose.
Well, no, Judaism, I still had more exploring to do. I mean, some healing, some starting over from scratch. But Buddhism, I went into thinking I was going to be Buddhist and finding really deep spirituality and meaning there. Specifically in Vipassana, also, there's shir klali every night. There's like a dharma talk, right? And after a while, it was as everyone says that went to India or these places and comes back, it starts grinding against the Jewish essence inside. So that started happening, but it wasn't enough to really send me off. Anyway, so it's a long story, but in that process of this battle with this guru, they weren't letting me leave. I wanted to go to a Chabad house to just see how I felt, and it really felt like Hashem, God, was telling me over and over and over again, you're supposed to stay in India and be Buddhist. And I said over and over again, no. So it's a long story, but there's lots
That's
more
a big
to talk
statement.
about.
So explain what you mean by that. That God was telling you you're supposed to stay in India, or that you felt that way. that God was telling you?
Yeah, it was. This was a long time ago, so I don't remember it fully, but there was. I can't really fully. It was. I was in that space. Every a flower that passes by you is a divine message. How the wind feels on your skin. Everything is like a message, and the messages that I interpreted that I was getting over and over again, and with the doors being closed, and me saying to Hashem, like, if I'm supposed to leave, let me leave. If I'm supposed to go to Chabad house and reconnect with Judaism, let that happen. And it was over and over again, the doors being slammed. So it's like, okay, I guess it's clear.
Okay.
And my holy chutzpah was like, maybe not. So yeah.
Understand. I have two questions. I'll start with the first. So I've heard it said many times. I'm not sure what I think about it, but I'll just repeat it the way I heard it. Is that most people, or most or all the people who go off the derech, who leave the path of halachic Judaism, is a trauma response of sorts, right? Something happened in childhood or in teenage years, and as a result, they've turned sideways. Even some people understand Yashka's turn to Christianity or whatever he was turning towards as a traumatic response to, I don't know, an interaction with someone. So yours didn't have that. You had genuine God questions.
Genuine God questions that were helped along by some rabbis that probably shouldn't have been educating teenagers. It's kind of like if you don't. Anyways, when I think it's important for, if there's some teenagers listening to this, in Masifta or high school. What?
I'm sure there are, if there's anyone who still listens to the podcast. I'm sure there are.
Yeah. So, we sometimes as kids, we look up to these elementary school or high school rabbis, and often I'm going to get myself in trouble, but it's not necessarily that they have all the answers if they're teaching elementary school or high school. There's to keep exploring a little bit longer, to branch out, to meet other people, other rabbis that might have more nuanced and sophisticated answers. So,
are you saying the best don't become elementary school teachers?
I don't know if I'm saying that. I'm gonna get myself in trouble today.
Right. Maybe a more diplomatic way of saying it is that no one has all the answers.
Right. No one has all the answers.
I think it's very dangerous to make anyone our
for sure.
Our guru.
Right, but as a teenager, right, you're exposed to only a few people in your life so far, and we're trained, and rightfully so, to really give them a lot of kavod and bittul ourselves to them. But we just have to be smart. So it was definitely helped along. A few. I don't know if I was fully traumatized, but there were definitely like doors shut in my face. One of my rabbis was I got kicked out of the class, Gemara class, because I refused to learn Gemara from him because I felt like I just can't learn from this person. So I got kicked out of class. I would hang outside, and
but what did you expect to happen if you refused to learn from him?
I didn't. I was a stubborn teenager,
Right, I'm just trying to. Meaning, if you refuse to learn from him, so if you refuse to learn,
right?
So.
And I didn't mind getting kicked out of class.
Right.
But that wasn't the issue. But one day, people came out of class to use the bathroom and hang out, and he comes out one day and smashes the door open and says, I won't say the other kid's name, but if you hang out with that kid, you're never going to amount to anything.
Okay. Yeah.
So things like that. There was another thing where. Not because I wasn't on the program,
Got it. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of stuff that's enough to send a nice Jewish kid to an ashram in India.
Right, exactly. I mean, more than that, there was the end of year, kind of camp out, Shabbaton, and something happened, and they kicked me out 20 minutes, 30 minutes before Shabbos, and anywhere I was going to get to for Shabbos was an hour away. It's like, really? Like, is Shabbos more important than... Clearly not. You're sending me in the middle of Pennsylvania with nowhere to go. The only thing I could do is maybe drive on Shabbos to get somewhere safe. So, small little things like that.
Right. I don't know why. It's the first time I noticed it in Vizos Torah when the Torah is lifted. I don't know what nusach you pray, but maybe everyone says it. Vizos Torah. I just noticed it, for example, the translation over the holidays. That the Torah is pleasant and its ways are peaceful.
Yeah. Derech Eretz Kadmon Torah.
Right. But it's saying even like Torah itself is peaceful. Yeah. So I thought that was nice because very often it's not communicated in a very peaceful way.
Right.
So we know.
Yeah, and it's that's a trauma response.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess why it's said that shaming someone is tantamount to murder, because oftentimes when people repeat like a painful, pivotal moment, it involves some form of public humiliation or semi-public humiliation.
Right.
So it's interesting how powerful it is.
Yeah. So that's the beginning of my story. We got to age 14. Anyway, so India was very powerful. I decided in India that I should really give Judaism a more mature view, chance. So I decided that I was going to go back to Israel, and I would go to Aish Torah, start from scratch. I'd very purposefully forgotten. I didn't remember how to daven, Shemona Esrei. At least I thought I had forgotten as much as I could. And I went to Aish Torah, and I was all of a sudden introduced to something totally different. And also basic Chassidus, basic Kabbalah. It's the first time I heard of the Sfirot in one of Yom Tov Glazer's classes. I wrote a whole book on it now. And and actually people talking about God, right? I grew up, there's a lot of things about what God said. That was one of the big questions I had growing up. Like, tell me about God. Like, who is God? How do we have an experience of God? And they couldn't give me answers. They didn't have the answers. And at Aish, they, with basic Chassidus and basic Kabbalah, it's like, we're actually talking about Hashem, and there's a way to learn about Hashem, experience Hashem, and all of those things. So that was really powerful. And then I bounced around to a few different yeshivas. I've been in 10 different yeshivas, gathering the sparks of each one. At a certain point, I moved back to the States. I lived in a few mobile homes, traveling across the country, traveling in the West Coast. They both ran on used vegetable oil, and teaching about.
And what was the purpose of these travels?
So the first one was seeing the world, seeing the States. Actually, my intention was really to explore Jewish communities. I grew up Orthodox. I went back to Aish, like in the kind of deep into the Baal Tshuva world, and I was like, okay, maybe there's other, I'm into Judaism, but maybe there's other ways of living it.
Right.
So I wanted to explore different Jewish communities. I went out to the Bay Area. I went out to LA. I did a big exploration into conservative communities and reform communities and renewal communities and reconstructionist communities and anything there was. And then the second time, which was a few years later, was actually a job. I got paid to travel around the United States in a converted minibus with another minibus flipped over on top of it and welded together. So there's like two engines sticking out, wheels in the air. It was actually created by Ben from Ben and Jerry's, and it went through a series of owners before it got to our hands.
Okay.
And it was 2 Shemitas ago. So I was hired with some other people to tour around the United States and Jewish communities, teach about alternative energy, Shemitah, sustainability, all those sorts of things. So I like to say that I've, the Torah stands on 3 pillars. Judaism has 3 pillars. I also have 3 pillars. They're Torah, of course. There's psychology, and then nature, sustainable living, and which is really, in my mind, all the same. They interweave and part of a balanced.
I think I read in your bio, so you lived on a kibbutz a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've. I feel like we're trying to do that here a little bit at. In the ranches, little kibbutz.
It's amazing, and there's peacocks walking around.
I didn't mean from that perspective. I meant more from the local community which is forming here. So we're a few families. I think by the time this podcast is published, probably 5 families.
Wow.
Strong in this area.
Wow,
and
amazing.
Like the meals we've been doing together, like as, I don't know, it's kind of like a group. For now, I don't know if that'll stay like that, but it feels kind of kibbutzy.
Wow.
Like the shul's like 45 minutes from here, so it's like, okay, go there and then you eat lunch also, and it just makes more sense to kind of spend the day than go back and forth.
Right. Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's a whole trek with the kids. I mean, it's a whole ordeal just to.
It's a 40 an hour away to get to shul.
Yeah, it's about a 45-minute walk to get there. Got 3, 4 young kids. By the time everything gets done,
and it rains like 5 times along the way. You got to go to the mikveh before you get there and the mikveh after you get there.
We got cold plunge on site in both places. So. I go to mikveh, won't do anything for you. You need to be cold. Right. People say, "What's with this cold plunge stuff?" It's like, no, there's nothing. The cold plunge isn't new. It's all water being heated that's new.
Right.
Water used to be cold everywhere. That was just the nature of water was cold.
Yeah.
Okay, except here.
Right.
Except in South Florida.
Yeah.
If you get under 80 degrees from the shower, you're doing good.
Yeah, it's hot water always.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but in most places in the world, you can just take a cold shower at any time.
Right.
Yeah, that's just the water is cold. Water is
Yeah.
cold. Okay, so I'm interested in what you taught in the sustainable living. What were you going for? What was the psychology? I understand. Torah, I don't, but I get the general idea.
Yeah.
I won't say like I understand Torah, but I get the general idea of what you're talking about. What do you mean by sustainable living?
Yeah, so I run a program in Jerusalem. I live in Jerusalem. I run a program there called Sod Siach, which is inspired. The name is inspired by one of Rabbi Nachman's Torahs about Lesuach Basadeh, that Yitzchak went to pray in the field, and when you pray in the field, all the grasses and everything joins in your prayer. So that's and Sod Siach is like the secret of the foliage, but also the secret conversation. And Siach also is code word in Chassidus for prayer, so the secret of prayer. So that's the name of the organization, and the goal is to reveal the intrinsic connection between Judaism and sustainable living. And we have 70 faces of the Torah. You can read through the entire Torah with like an economic lens. You can read it with a social justice lens. You can read it with
Psychology
lens. And you can read it with a sustainability, environmental, sometimes I like saying sustainability more than environmentalism because people have an issue with that word maybe sometimes.
It's been politicized, that's all.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's been hijacked.
Right. And really the Torah's mission really is to create a healthy society, right? On all levels, on the individual level, on the communal level, on the societal level. And the health of a society, all the Jews that are flocking down here from New York to this beautiful place, right? The health of a society is intrinsically connected to nature, to the atmosphere, right? To the place that it's in, and the Torah.
Say more. Explain what you're saying a little bit.
Yeah. So. The foundation, you could look at, I gave a class last week. You could, all of this, we all know that, all the Chagim, there's a level of the historical story, right? We celebrate Sukkot, we celebrate Pesach because we went out of Mitzrayim. We celebrate Shavuot because we got the Torah. We celebrate Sukkot because we were in Sukkot. But there's also the other level that is connected to the agriculture, to the harvests, right? All of those things. And all of the mitzvot of the holiday tell that story. I don't know if we could dive into it.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. So the okay. So let's just start with Sukkot. This is like a whole
No, go for it by all means. Yeah, what's the
Okay. So so we have Sukkot, right? We have to start with the Mishnah actually. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, the first parak, says that we're judged for 4 things 4 times a year. We're judged on Pesach for the grain. We're judged on Shavuot for the fruits of the tree, which is also the fruits of the womb. And we're judged on Sukkot for the water. And on Rosh Hashanah, it doesn't actually say that we're judged, but that everyone passes before Hashem as sheep. Right? So there's an individual accounting, or, it's not really a judgment as much. In the Torah, Rosh Hashanah is Yom HaZikaron. It's remembering, day of remembrance, day of memory, remembering who we are. So it's not, we could talk about that also soon. So what does it mean that we're being judged for these things? We're being judged that time because it's the beginning of that period connected to the natural world, right? So famously, Pesach is the beginning of the harvest for the grains. First is the barley, which is going to Sfirat the Omer, to the cutting of the Omer. That's what this book is partially about. And then we get to the wheat harvest. And what does it mean we're judged? How is someone judged? We're judged based on how our relationship is with that resource. So if we're primed or attuned to use that resource well, then Hashem is going to give us more of that resource. If we are mistreating that resource or not doing it well, then okay, I'm not going to give you more of that.
So when you use the language "judged for," is it almost "judged by"?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we're judged by what we've done and how we've used it in the past, and we're judged, and then the judgment is okay. How much am I going to give you? Okay. So in all of the mitzvahs of Pesach are around that, right? So another paradigm of the Torah really is when we look at it on a real pshat level, the Torah is addressing rich land-owning men, right? People that own fields, people that have slaves, or not really slaves, but
servants,
right? Indentured servants, people that are living with you, that you're supporting them, and right. And
a lot of people say that like the Torah believes in slavery, but it doesn't. Right.
It's not slavery. It's a live-in, helper, which was really for a lot of people that didn't have land, for a lot of people that had no money. This was actually a really amazing opportunity.
But it's more of a relationship of employment than slavery.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's employment. Right. And I usually don't use the word slavery because it's not. It's a worker. It's a worker. Eved, a worker.
Right. No, so often there's that's a criticism many people dole out at the Torah.
Right.
But
yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah.
I don't know if it's like employee at will, but it's an employee nonetheless.
Right. Well, it's right. So that's a whole that's more
separate topic
on the economic thing. But where were we? What were we talking about? Okay, so Pesach. We're still in Pesach.
Yeah.
So there's the Torah says, right, that you can't use any of your new grain that you're about to harvest or that maybe you've already harvested until you bring the Omer Tnufa, right? Chadash, right? Ein Chadash b'Torah, right? Or what's the line from Ein Chadash b'Torah? Chadash, right? Which is pointing at you need to first go through Pesach so that you can fix your relationship with your grain to use it well or to use it healthily, and then you can use your grain. So what does Pesach do with your relationship to grain? A couple of things. First is it's all about the chametz and the matzah, right? So what the Torah tells us to do is to get rid of your seor, right? And because you can't have anything chametz, anything fermented. Soor is sourdough starter. You heard that before?
I didn't know.
Yeah, so soor is sourdough starter. You have to get rid of your sourdough starter before you can, on Pesach. Why? Because you can't have chametz, because you're supposed to eat poor man's bread. You're supposed to eat matzah. And matzah, every ancient culture has a flatbread, right? I can list the list through all the cultures. Everyone has a different name. Naan in India, chapati, tortilla, all these different flatbreads that the poor people ate, because to make sourdough and to have a sourdough starter, you need to be rich. You still need to be rich. It's expensive nowadays, even. It's probably 3 times as much as white bread. But you need to be rich, because the way that you create sourdough is you have the starter and you have to constantly be feeding it grain and water. And the more you feed it, the bigger it gets and the more it needs, right? It's kind of like this, monster, this addiction monster. We should get into addiction. And we shouldn't get into. We should talk about it. And when most people, you have sourdough around here?
Yeah.
You make sourdough?
We don't make, but yes.
Okay. So most people that make sourdough, where do they keep their sourdough? Where do they keep their sourdough starter?
In the fridge?
In the fridge.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I guess it's got to be preserved in some way.
Right. So it doesn't have to be preserved, but because it actually slows down the process, the metabolic process, so you don't have to feed it as much. It's not going to go bad on itself. I mean, maybe sometimes if it's really hot, but it slows down the process. That's why we keep it in the fridge. So at the beginning of the summer and the dry season, the Torah tells us you need to get rid of your sourdough starter. You need to eat matzah for 7 days. Then you can restart a sourdough, which then brings us to Shavuot, right? And the only time that chametz was actually allowed in the Beis Hamikdash was on Shavuot for the shtei lechem offering, which was sourdough. The reason why sourdough bread, right? Chametz was not allowed in the Beis Hamikdash. Ever. Except for on Shavuot. On a communal level, there's the shlamim, which part of the shlamim offering that anyone could bring at any time. There were 4 bakery goods. There was matzah. There was kind of like this oil infused wafer cake kind of thing with a lot of oil. Then there was a little bit of oil, and then there was sourdough, which my theory is that the agada and the seder with its 4 cups and stages is a reminiscent connected to the shlamim, which we bring on Shavuos. That kind of like if you're going through 4 courses and you're having 4 different bakery goods, you're going to go from worst to best, or vice versa, right? Or
okay,
dessert.
Some order, yeah.
Right, there's some order. So okay, but I digress. So yeah, you have to, so you get rid of your sourdough. You don't eat sourdough. You get rid of the starter, and then the Torah tells us, and you need to eat matzah. You need to eat matzah. You need to experience what everyone else is experiencing, what the poor people are experiencing, or else you can't relate to them. You aren't going to be able to use your resources well with your grain. And after that, and you bring the carbon Omer. After that, then you're ready to use your grain, and you're ready for the summer, right? Because you've tapped into conserving water even.
Got it. So these high-end Pesach programs are,
right.
are not in the spirit, you're saying.
Right, exactly. unless all the people that are going on these are giving a lot of tzedakah already. So that's just Pesach. Should we go through the other ones?
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that the Pesach is tied to. So that's seasonality, number one. It's the seasons of when these things are ready, obviously in that climate.
Right.
And there's an annual opportunity to reset one's relationship with that.
Right.
Yes, actually give a second one. It'll help because
Yeah.
I'll know what I'm missing on the first, what the common denominator is.
And just to, we have 5 levels of the soul, and the what does it mean to be a healthy individual? We have to be aligned on all of those levels. One of them is physical, right? The nefesh is our body. And we can't have full health and healing and walk through life in a healthy way if the whole structure, the tzura of the Adam, is not aligned. So all the mitzvahs and all the holidays at all times, the entire calendar is talking on all of those levels at all times. So right now, just to remind ourselves, remind myself, and also whoever's listening that we're just talking about the nefesh level. Then we have the ruach, neshama, chaya, chida, which the whole calendar touches on all of this.
So you're alluding to it, but you're gonna stay on the nefesh.
Yeah.
No, okay,
yeah.
on the body.
Right.
Aspect of it.
B'ezrat Hashem, it's gonna be. I'm gonna be writing another book about that. But yeah. Okay. So then we get to Shavuos, right? And Shavuos is we're being judged for the fruits of the trees and also the fruit of the womb, meaning animals, all of the animals. That and we think with the bikurim, right? Shavuos is the time of bringing the bikurim, but most of the bikurim was actually brought after Shavuos. Shavuos was the beginning of bringing the bikurim. The reason is because most of we're talking about the Sheva Minim, right? Most of the fruit trees of the Sheva Minim actually ripen after Shavuos, which is why you can say in the Mishnah you can say the keta, the piece that the Torah tells us when you bring the bikurim up until Sukkot, because that entire time period is when that's when you bring bikurim. So we have the figs first, then we have the dates after that, then we have the grapes, and we have the olives a little bit later. So that's like the Sheva Minim through the calendar also. And again, right, you have to bring the bikurim first, communally and individually, but we have the communal, big parade of the bikurim before you can start using your fruit, so that you realign your relationship with that.
And the way we observe Shavuos today, meaning the example you gave for Pesach, is consistent, at least on some level, maybe not in spirit always, but in terms of practice. We're eating the crackers, we're changing the bread that we eat.
Right.
In terms of Shavuos, current day, the way we practice it, is there any remnant of that?
Yeah, so dairy. So that's what I said about the fruit of the womb also. And I think my theory is that this is really the deep reason of why we eat dairy on Shavuos. Because there's 3 times that the Torah says not to eat milk and meat together, right? Don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. 2 of those times, the first 2, is in the context of Shavuos. It says, bring the bikurim and don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. The 3rd time in Devarim is that it puts it together with all the other dietary laws, right? So it says, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, and also, don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. So why? What does that have to do with Shavuos? So the reason is because you're bringing a shlamim, right? You're bringing this karban, specifically for Shavuos, and it's also the time when the animals are born. They're born in the spring, early spring, and then you're bringing this karban. And when you're going to bring this karban, right? If you're traveling from the Golan or anything, and you have this little kid that's a month and a half old, you're going to bring its mother because it needs to be fed, and you have the mothers there, and you're eating this shlamim, this offering, and the mother's right there. The Torah tells us you can't cook the kid in its mother's milk. And that's also connected to fixing our relationship with meat consumption and dairy consumption, which is a whole.
Are you vegetarian?
I'm a Kohen. I'm also allergic to most plant-based proteins. I only ate meat on Shabbos for about a decade, and then I was vegan for about a year and lost a lot of weight. Basically, just eating buckwheat all day long.
No rice. There are a few kinds of rice. You can be pretty interesting if you want.
Yeah, but I wasn't so healthy. So over time I started eating meat again.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's just.
Yeah. So one of the things that we
do.
do.
I feel like that too is resetting our relationship with the food we eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it was just this past Shabbos. One of my my son, he's 5, made the connection between chicken and chickens.
Mm.
And
Right.
it's like, this comes from chickens? We kill them to eat them?
Right.
And I said, yeah. He's like, that's rude.
Amazing. There's an amazing midrash. I think it's the Sifra that goes through one of the psukim over there, and it says, actually, you might have thought that you could go to the store and buy meat, but it says from your flocks. I have the source in my computer over there, but it goes through kind of what it says about killing an animal. And the midrash, the halachic midrash, goes through step by step, and you need to kill it yourself. It needs to be of your flock. It can't be all of your flock. It goes line by line to the proper way of eating meat. There's many sources about meat eating. One famous one is that it's asr for Ama Aretz to eat meat. 100% asr. That's what the Gemara says. And Ama Aretz, right? We usually translate it as a what's
an ignoramus or ignorant, but you're saying a person of the land.
Not person of the land, an uncouth person, right?
Right.
There's the chaverim, who are the rabbis, part of our club.
Okay.
And then there's the Ama Aretz, which is...
an ignoramus, a simple person.
Yeah. Not only simple person, but a...
coarse.
A coarse, yeah. An uncouth, coarse person that isn't working on themselves, that... and if we're talking about on a Hasidic level, of course, because they're not going to be able to raise the sparks. So it's asr for them to eat meat. If the only reason why we're eating meat is to fuel ourselves to do good in the world and raise the sparks in that way, then
Right. There's a level, if you go down the rabbit hole, that plants have life too, and plants have understandings. I mean, we won't necessarily stop at animals just because we're having this conversation. Right.
But animals are very different. So I was a shepherd for a while, and I wanted to be years and years ago. And I wanted to be a shepherd because I was like, all the greats in Judaism were shepherds. I want to experience, like I want to learn, what was it about? And it was very interesting that it was actually 160 goats. Goats are a little bit more challenging than sheep. Sheep are like, they stay put, they're quiet.
Goats are rambunctious.
Right. So you couldn't sit down the entire day. You're constantly, corralling them. And for goats, but also sheep, you have to be a little bit strong and forceful. You need to sometimes pull them by their ear. You need to, hit them to get them back into, And I saw in myself, after even a few weeks, it was so easy to lose my sensitivity, to go a little too far, to be frustrated, to be annoyed, and like hit them a bit harder or pull them too hard, So everything that we all know about, why was Moshe chosen? He was a shepherd, and he ran after the sheep.
Yeah.
It's I experienced that in a small way.
Oh, that's interesting, because I would have thought the opposite, right? That you'd put someone with animals to become more sensitive to it, and you're saying that no, that's something that has to be worked through.
Yeah, well, there's animal therapy and then there's farming. They're not the same. I think if you ask most farmers, of course, they're gonna have hopefully a sensitive, but it's also very clear that animals are different. Right. And you need to treat them differently, and you can't just talk to the animal back into shape. Sometimes you have to be forceful, and that line. So when I was a shepherd, there was a younger kid. Sometimes like troubled kids would come through for a little. The yeshiva would send them to this farm, and it was remarkable how quick these teenagers, these kids, would become cruel to these animals.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I guess they were troubled already.
Yeah.
But and I saw in myself also. It's like it was so easy to like, okay, it's just an animal. It's just So there is a difference between plants and animals, and it's harder to keep sensitive and to raise the sparks of animals.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's Shavuos.
Yeah.
Any other questions about Shavuos?
I do want to dig in a little more there. Actually, I'm interested in it because, first of all, if you notice, right when you come in, I got a little vegetable garden going. So now I'm more interested in the seasons. We just cut our covered crops last week, and we'll start planting soon. So I'm learning. It's kind of the first season. I'm taking it seriously.
Awesome.
So
amazing.
It'll be fun to see what we got. Last year we got a couple months of stuff, but this year we're starting from the beginning of the year. So that'll be fun. And we had a number of animals here when we first came. It was like, oh wow, this is awesome. We had some chickens. We had a goat. Found out you should only have one goat at a time. We had a rabbit. We had I don't know, like a number of different things. And I just saw how hard it was to keep them alive. Number one, it's like it takes a lot of protection to our chickens. Like what we did to keep them alive. It was this constant.
From coyotes, you mean, or just to keep them?
Both. First, when they were younger, from like illness and stuff like that, and as they got older, coyotes, possums, bobcats. I mean, just there's so many things in nature, and once they find out
that they're
there, then you're like, okay, so we'll fence in a little better, and then they dig in, and they must tell the other animals about it because like put a fence in a few inches down, and they figure another animal comes in, they can get through that one, and I just felt like, okay, I don't want this responsibility. I'm not keeping these animals alive. And I heard that God treats us the way we treat animals because we're kind of viewed in the same way by God. Animals are, for the most part, most animals are helpless as it relates to us, and we're helpless as it relates to God. So I was like, okay, I don't want this.
I don't want to be judging that way.
So I'm quite interested in the topics you're talking about, and others here. When I mentioned we're building a community here, and a number of people who do come have interest to have animals. And I'm sure over time, once we build a community, we'll have some for sure. But what I've noticed is that it takes someone dedicated to that. It can't be a kind of side.
Right. Yeah.
Side project. It needs care. It needs attention.
Maybe even harder than raising a child in some ways.
Like you have teachers for school, then you need someone dedicated to this. Just like we have for our garden. I tried doing it at first at the beginning. I couldn't get it right. And now there's someone dedicated to that. And I hang out and I learn, and my kids learn a little bit, but he's responsible and comes every so often to check on it and what to plant and how they're doing. Doesn't happen by itself.
Right.
So,
it's very,
yes,
hard.
What I'm saying is that I'm very interested in the topic. It's very relevant to me. I don't know about everyone else. I'm someone living in Brooklyn whose definition of a garden is what mine was as a kid, a patch of 4x2 grass.
Right.
But I think it's interesting.
Awesome.
So as it relates to Pesach and resetting the relationship with wheat, I get that. On Shavuot, how are we resetting our relationship with?
So that's the whole function of a korban, right? We're bringing the bikurim, and we're offering it up, and also whenever the shalosh regalim, it's an immersive experience. It's a transformational immersive experience. It's like a retreat. You're going to Yerushalayim, and you're surrounded, and you go to the Beis HaMikdash, and it's probably the only on so many levels, but it's a dignified place. It's a holy place. You go and you see the Kohanim, who you tap back into all the things, and you're bringing this korban. You're bringing your first thing and you're saying, okay, like this is my korban. This is my offering. Even just being able to, you've been working so hard to grow this food, so hard to, as you're saying, keep your animals alive. And you're bringing it as a korban, and you're basically saying, okay, this is not mine, right? And all of this is not mine. And if it's not mine and it was a gift, hopefully that's supposed to change your relationship to it.
Right. Then there's also, I was thinking about, keeping the animals alive, but the ones which are killing it are other animals, right? So all of it requires a certain level of, sensitivity too, because we can also want to kill the bobcat or kill the possum or kill the peacock, or kill whatever it is that's creating our problem. But I imagine in working with nature, like that's not the most sensitive.
Well, something on that note, the Ramban, writing 1,000 years ago around, he writes an amazing, profound thing. There's he's talking about shluach hakain, right? Sending away the mother bird before you take the eggs. and he connects. He's writing on that mitzvah, and he mentions also there's another mitzvah: you can't kill a mother and a child animal on the same day. And he writes the reason for both are the same, that we need to be careful to not extinct a species. Which, when I read that, blew my mind, because 1,000 years ago, who could have thought that human beings could wipe out a species? Let alone, we're killing species every day over here now. Who and he's saying the Ramban, was sensitive to that, and he's saying that the Torah was sensitive to that, and Hashem obviously is sensitive to it. It was just it's amazing to think that our rabbis and our lineage was so sensitive thousands of years before anyone else was thinking about this.
Okay, so the obvious question, right? You're saying that we're judged by our relationship with that thing, right? So obviously, I'm going to guess that you don't believe that we have the healthiest relationship with wheat, grain, barley, animals, garden, any of this stuff, fruits, any of this. Yet we have more than ever.
Right, and we have more disease than ever, perhaps. Right, it's what does it mean for something to be blessed, right? For something to be blessed, it's not just abundance. It's that it's healthy, right? So we have a lot of grain and we have a lot of gluten problems,
right?
And we have a lot of water, maybe, but we're also, every year the hurricanes of Florida are getting worse and worse. Every midah k'neged midah. Like Hashem's world works it's a closed system. And everything that we do has a consequence, and Hashem responds, and not as punishment, as corrective measure. And allergies, cancer. I'm not saying that I know the exact correlation or
right.
I have the answers.
But you're saying it's not blessed. That's what you're saying. Like our food is not blessed.
Our food is not blessed, right? And even more than that, like if I chicken in Israel. When I eat it, and I try not to eat it, I don't know if you have the same experience. It feels, it's like, I don't know, it's energetically doesn't feel good. You know what I mean?
So I haven't experienced that, but I know. First of all, many people on medicine go through that experience. Like they'll have a medicine experience, and there was one shaman I know who used to say, don't eat, and he was clear, he's talking from personal experience, don't eat any meat, chicken. He's like, especially chicken, within a few days of doing medicine, because you may experience how they lived or died. Right? So I don't relate to it directly, but I've heard enough to understand that chickens aren't so well treated, and it shows up in their...
and especially in Israel, probably everywhere, but yeah. So there's more, but does it mean that more, just having more is...
No, you answered the question.
It could be that more is actually a curse.
Right. Someone shared with me, I don't know if you heard this, but it made a lot of sense to me, that that there's an insensitivity in cooking meat and milk, because the milk is meant to sustain that meat, right? So it's certainly in the mother of a child. But also conceptually, milk is very nurturing, and then here meant to nurture life, and here's like the ending of a life, and like to mix the two together is like, okay, you ended the life, and you're using what was meant to nurture the life, and you're going to together. Like, let's keep these separate.
Yeah, and it's an important teaching. And I ask you a question: what's the difference between having a chicken and cooking it with an egg? Putting eggs in a cholent, it's life and death also, but that's 100% kosher.
What do you mean it's life and death? They're not eating their chickens, their eggs.
The eggs can create. They're going to be created into.
Right, but that's not their nutrition, right? In this case, that milk is
you're saying specifically because it's nutrition. Nice.
It's their own nutrition.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like here, like I'm producing this milk in order to nurture my offspring, and you're taking my offspring, and you're using that milk to cook it. It's like a double whammy.
Yeah, totally.
Here. It's the Ramak has this line at the beginning of Torah where he says that it's impossible for us to imagine the disgrace that Hashem experiences from us, from us wonderful people. It's impossible to imagine.
We're trying.
And I think the specific disgrace he explains is that he gives us energy and then we use that energy, right? He sustains us and then we use that sustenance to then betray him or counteract his will. And he said, and like the disgrace that Hashem experiences as a result of this, I think the word he uses is melech olav, right? A king, which is a disgraced king. So he says it's impossible for the human mind to grasp. So I kind of feel it's like the same. It's like we're going to use the energy in order to, make this offspring fit for our consumption.
Right. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, anyway.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah.
So
Okay,
then,
very interesting.
Okay, so let's just finish this the circle while we're at it. So Sukkot, right? So we're judged for the water. And of course Sukkot is the beginning of the rainy season, right? It's being decided how much rain is gonna come, but not just how much rain, right?
By the way, that's a perfect example of abundance is not always a blessing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially here in Florida. Exactly. So, and everything that we do, all the mitzvot, everything that we do is connected to water. The Sheva, the Arba Minim, and Simchas Pesach Shueva, and even being in a sukkah, right? It's all.
How does that connect to water?
It's all water themed. It's a meditation of. There's so many levels of Sukkot itself, of sitting in the sukkah, but it's preparing us to go indoors for the rainy season, right? And saying that if it rains on the first night, it's a siman klala, right? Where it's not that all of these are just they're all the chagim are aids to prepare us for the next season, right? Using it properly, but also what's going on in the natural world with summer, with deep summer, with spring, with the fall, with winter, all these different things.
But that makes a lot of. It's actually I never noticed that before. The similarity between Pesach, we're experiencing kind of no bread, right? So resets the relationship with our food, and then a reset of the relationship with our living over Sukkot.
Yeah,
right? We experience.
Yeah, and we're about to go back indoors for 6 months because it's about to rain, right? Not every day, but it's going to get cold.
Right, but you spend more time indoors, certainly
Spend more time indoors, yeah.
Right.
And then something that an idea that I find really beautiful with the Arba Minim is nowadays we go right. There's a lot of Torahs about Arba Minim unity and Achdus and the different types of Jews and the ones that smell good and taste good, the ones that smell bad, the ones that don't have a smell, right? That are nice to the eyes, Torah, mitzvot, all that thing, and bring them together on a kind of on the nefesh level, right? On what the level we're talking about right now. We go to the shuk or we go to the store and all the Arba Minim are right there, right? And we just spend 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours picking them out. But if you think about it, back in the day, right, that's not what happened. And the Arba Minim actually grow in different climates. So we have the etrog, the citron, which is a citrus fruit which grows in the coastal plains, right? Where the Jaffa oranges grow. Then we have the dates, right? The lulav that's in the desert, the palm trees. Then we have the aravot, which are in the valleys and the wadis and the streams. And then we have the hadassim, which grow on the mountaintops. And the way I think about it is when it's almost time for Sukkot, and everyone says, okay, we're going to Jerusalem. Let's grab the mean that we have. We're living by the coast. We have, citrons. They don't have everything else. I'm going to grab for myself, and I'm going to grab a whole bunch for everyone else. And they get to Jerusalem, and they start trading around. I got a lulav. Who's got an adas? Who's got a rava? And through that, you can't, unless everyone brings extra for everyone else, you're not going to have a full set. And so it's like on real pshat level, it's like achdus. The only way to fulfill this mitzvah is through this way. And on another level, right, each of these four species need water in different ways, and connected to that climate also, right, which is also connected to the type of Jew, right? Your climate is going back to what I was saying before, but where we live very much affects who we are and what we do in life. And right, people in Florida are doing very different things than people in New York. And so it connects to the smell and the taste and all levels. And each need different amounts of water, and you're pulling them all together, waving them around. And the Gemara says actually, right, that we wave them for two reasons. One is to acknowledge the king in the 6 directions, and the other, it says, is actually to ward off bad storms. We're shaking the lulav to ward off bad storms.
That's what it says?
That's what it says in the Gemara. Straight Gemara. So I like to think that we're using, kind of on all levels that I was just speaking about, and you could see the 5 levels of the soul over there. And then we're taking it, and especially now we still do this, and we in Hallel on Hodu L'Hashem Ki Tov, we're kind of like taking the lulav nesrog while we're saying Hodu L'Hashem Ki Tov, and like channeling that into the 6 directions. Like, okay, it's gonna be good. Hodu L'Hashem Ki Tov, and aligning with, if we think good, was it Zakt good, Macht good? Was it the other way around?
Trach good, Vetzang good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Which
in Sukkot, by the way, there's a whole lot of holy chutzpah in Sukkot. We're demanding, we're saying, especially after Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we're kind of in this elevated state, and that's connected to the other water theme of Simchas Pesach Shveva. And what we're saying is, it's the end of the dry season. It hasn't rained in 6 months. The cisterns are dried up, the wadis are dried up, the wells are dried up, everything's dried up. We have this tiny little bit of water left. So on 2 levels. One is we're pouring it out, and we're forcing Hashem's hand, saying, Hashem, we're pouring this out, you need to send us more rain. The other is that it's such deep trust. Hashem, we're so certain that you're going to send us more rain, we're even going to pour out the last bit of our water on the Mizbeach. Yeah. So everything around Sukkot is fixing our relationship with water, preparing for the winter, and preparing for the rainy season, and what we're going to do with that water, how we're going to do with that.
Right. So you're saying in each one of these situations, these holidays, we're essentially letting God know our relationship with it is healthy. Give it to us in abundance, and in
blessed abundance. Reveal good.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. That's what you say.
Yeah. I mean, there's always, right, there's showing Hashem that this is where we're at. There's also practicing that of where we want to be, right? There's and then doing the tikkunim to really be able to use it properly.
Fascinating. It sounds good. This is your original work?
Everything I just said?
Yeah.
Some of it's my original work. Some of it I've learned through the years. I don't know which is which anymore.
Right. I'm saying you're pulling from others, but this, like, the entire.
Yeah. I mean, most of it is just straight Mishnah and Gemara. Yeah.
Right. I'm saying if you found it, it's within the sources. You're not. Right.
Yeah.
Right. There isn't someone else.
And putting together the picture of the mitzvahs. It's like, why are these the mitzvahs here? What's the story being told? And what are we asked to align with?
Yeah, but you said earlier, and I like that you said it, it's like Shivim Panam Torah, that there's 70 ways of viewing Torah, and then saying like each one of these lenses. Because normally you hear that as like, I can have my opinion, you can have your opinion. But the way you explained it, it's the first time I heard it, but it makes a lot of sense, is, as I started getting into healing, psychology, addiction recovery, then it just felt like this is what it was talking. I was like, this is exactly what it was talking about. Like,
exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
There's a lens where everything will make sense from that perspective.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and there's a whole way of looking at the Torah. There's books written about it.
Right.
It's addiction, or addiction recovery.
Yeah, this whole thing is exactly that.
Right.
Right.
So 70 phases. It's now we got to figure out what we kind of come up with 70 of them.
So what's your vision on the sustainable side of this? When you're saying sustainability, do you envision orthodoxy moving more towards this type of those who are practicing Jews? I don't like the word orthodox. I'm going to stop. Second time I used the word today. I don't like it at all. Terrible word. I should say a little comment on it because my family is, my mom's side is Sephardic, my dad's side is, I don't know, atheist Jews, Ashkenaz, and the it's on the Ashkenaz side that this stuff exists. It does not exist.
Right.
Sephardim, it's just one big chalent.
Right.
Orthodox,
Right.
conservative.
Well, you know what they say.
Like a Jew.
Right.
That's it.
You know what they say that you have a Sephardi Jew, and I want to do this. It goes against the Torah. I want to do it, but Hashem, I'm sorry. The Ashkenazi has to come up with a whole theory to disprove that God doesn't exist, so that he can eat it.
Yeah, interesting. But in that environment, right, which to me is much more, it feels much better, feels much more real, is just at the end of the day to say like one is Orthodox, one is conservative. Anyone I've met is careful in certain areas and lax in others. Like everyone in life and their domain. And it will exist within meaning these are domains that will line up with things that are important in the Torah. So maybe someone's like a Shulchan Aruch guy, but like you said, if you're not respecting your body, okay, you're not, this part of it, you're not so, perfect in.
Yeah.
And in this Sephardic, it's like, okay, we'll all come in the same room, we'll all do our thing. One's a little more practicing, one's less. We don't need a label. And I think where the labels come from, my understanding, is it's this European Christian influence on Judaism where everything had to be segmented into a separate denomination. Yeah. But it's not a good influence.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I don't usually, I've also been using the word Orthodox. I don't like using it very much either.
Yeah, I should say that. But in terms of practicing, is your vision for the sustainability, like what you're talking about, for it to become more mainstream within practicing Judaism that we're paying attention to?
I wouldn't say it's my vision, it's Torah's vision.
That's what you see as essential.
Yeah, when we're talking about Mashiach, right? There's, I think some people.
Does that mean moving out of the cities?
The what?
Does that mean moving out of the cities?
No, but there's a whole lens, not even a lens, but the Torah talks about urban planning, right? There's park systems. There's a mitzvah called the migrash, right? You heard of it?
Tell me.
So migrash is that around a city, and in the Torah it's the Levium cities, the Levite cities, but Chazal and the Gemara already expand and they say that it applies to all cities in Eretz Yisrael. You need to leave 1,000 amot of wild land around the city. It's the early park system, nature reserve, right? So which is connected to the 2,000 amot and the Tchum Shabbat. You can't leave out of the Tchum Shabbat, right? So you have the city, then you have 1,000 amot of pasture for animals, right? You keep your animals close. You know how hard it is to keep animals alive. After that, you have another 1,000 amos of wild land, untouched, just like, nature reserve. And then after that is where the fields are.
And the fields would be considered part of the city?
The fields are, the agricultural fields.
Right.
It's part of the city, but part of the...
So is those thousands for the grazing of the animals, the 1,000 that's untouched, and then that's like public land, that's not private?
Right, it's public land.
Yeah, and then the agriculture is what's, this person can own this field, for example.
Right,
like
exactly. And that's 2,000 amot away. So Tchum Shabbat, right, where you're not allowed to go past 2,000 amot. When you put the picture together, it's like, well, of course you can't. That's the field. What are you doing in your workplace? Why are you going to your place of work on Shabbos? You want to take a walk? Okay, you have 1,000 amot of wild land and 2,000 amot even to take a nice stroll, to go out into nature, to do it badadut, right? To reconnect, right? People that have a problem with Tchum Shabbat, it's like, what do you mean? I want to go take a hike. So built in, it's like you got to put the picture together of what the Torah's.
Right. Are you saying that it's hard to understand these mitzvahs in a vacuum without understanding the entire landscape that it's.
Yeah, you
said
can't
within.
understand anything without understanding everything.
Okay.
I mean, it's not entirely true, but yeah. So
Okay, so you went around on a tour bus, right? Someone paid you, right? You said it was a job
yeah,
to go ahead and teach people about sustainability, right?
yeah,
In other words, introduce these concepts within halachic Judaism so that it's understood, hey, this is part of our tradition, this is part of our ways as well.
yeah.
Um,
And we had this wild bus that people stopped us on the road. Well, why are you driving this? Oh, glad you asked. Come on board.
okay, so when I asked you if you want people living out in nature, you said no, right? There's room for cities as well.
There's room for cities. Yeah.
Okay, so
but the Torah's vision of a city is
So what are you trying to do? Get rid of all chemicals out of food? Like, what's the?
What am I trying to do? I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. But going to the 5 levels of the soul, right? It's also connected to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Which maps very beautifully to the 5 levels of the soul. You're familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have the nefesh, which is our physical needs, and you can't get to the higher levels without first graduating from. Right? You can't work on love and belonging, on self-esteem, appropriate self-esteem, until your basics are put together. So and the Ari says this very, very clearly in when he's talking about Gilgulim, I think Shal Gilgulim, that you don't get your ruach until you've graduated your nefesh. You don't get your neshama until you've perfected your ruach. And so it's a whole system. And the health of a human being, the health of society, starts from the bottom, starts from what we're putting in the ground, starts from how much we're walking on the ground, right? The whole thing about the electromagnetic pull, that when we're grounding on the earth itself, it helps align our emotional field, right? So it's all connected.
So what's your vision for it? I'm trying to, if you're recommending
Mashiach.
Right, no, I understand that.
That's the vision.
But you're meant to bring Mashiach, right? So what is the practical change? I'm trying to what is the call to action, right? At the end of the day, what is your call to action? If someone's listening to this, if someone's hearing you speak about sustainability, reading your books, what is the action that you're looking for them to take?
Right. So if I was, 10 years ago, I'd say everyone needs to stop eating meat and everyone needs to, do all these things.
That's why I asked if you're vegan. Okay.
Right. As I've gotten older, life is complex, and there's so many different priorities and values and needs, right? I mean, it's just as important to take care of your children and give them a good life as it is to take care of the earth, right? And really just the start is to just be more conscious, right? Of everything is back to consciousness and being more careful and aware and making choices, right? Not just going with what the mainstream culture is doing and how they're doing it. The Torah from the very beginning was like, don't be like the cultures. Be elevated. Right. Be holy. Am kadosh. And the Torah demands that of us. So what does that look like for every individual in every community? I don't know. You need to ask the wise people there, but the start is to become more conscious and aware.
Okay, so you don't have a necessarily call to action. You're trying to bring awareness around an issue that you feel many of us just don't have awareness to. Like, we don't even know that we're celebrating this.
Right.
This aspect of the holiday. It's just not within our. Right.
Yeah, and I say Mashiach, and I've said it a couple of times now, because there's a lot of the people that are, I think. Not everyone. There's certain people that I've spoken to in communities. Why don't they take care of the earth? Why don't they throw out their garbage? Why don't they, right? And I think underneath it is, what do we need to? Mashiach's coming and everything's going to be fixed and healed, right? But in Navad Rebbe Natan, I believe, if I'm quoting it correctly, it's a famous teaching from Rishon Bar Yochai. And he says, if you're planting a tree, and someone comes and tells you Mashiach has come, first continue planting the tree, and then go greet the Mashiach. Which is like such a profound, deep teaching on so many levels, where Mashiach's here. What do you need to do? Right? Like everything's perfect. Everything. No. Hashem Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, says, no, you need to keep planting that tree first before greeting Mashiach. So, and I think on one level it's saying, Mashiach is this time of balance, of health, of healing, of systems working properly, and right, all that levels, so that we can have real spirituality and enlightenment, perhaps even, and it starts with planting that tree.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine, good. It's new. It's definitely not where I expected the conversation to go, what I expect you to talk about. Obviously, the topics I heard, right, meaning I've heard people talk passionately about these subjects, certainly, but to bring it in and weave it in within Judaism and how it's all embedded within, not as like, hey, be nice to animals, but this is like our core holidays are...
Right. I didn't think we were going to talk about this either.
Okay, good. No, there's a conversation in the air, like I said. And, it felt appropriate when my son asked that question. What's funny is you said earlier, I'll scroll up to an earlier part of the conversation, you said in the second grade you did comparative religion.
Yeah.
Right? And yesterday I was talking to I was putting my son to sleep, he's 7, and asked me different questions. I don't know, stories, tell me a story, where'd you come from? My mom is from Morocco, I started telling him about Morocco. And for some reason it came up about like that they practiced, like what it was like to be a Jew in Morocco, so I was saying some of my mom's story. And I was trying to explain like different religions, but I didn't even have the language to explain that there are different religions and people believe in different ways. So I was wondering, just for my own, maybe I should ask this offline, but it's possible that I always want to. How would you explain to a second grader, being that you were once doing comparative religion, I was like, maybe I don't even understand the concept of religion, that I can't explain it.
Right.
To a second grader, why can't I explain to a second grader why what it means to have a different religion? How would you say that?
Yeah. So the difference between religion and spirituality is an individual thing, right? And a religion is trying to create a community or society that's connected to that spirituality. So the issues that we have with religion is usually because, well, I'm an individual and I don't fit into this society, right? So spirituality is really just about your spirituality, your connection to higher power, to Hashem. And a religion is saying, and you also actually have responsibility to others in society, and creating a society that promotes those values and intentions. Right. Yeah.
And the idea of there being different religions, so what would be the difference? How would you explain the difference between one religion and the other?
So religions are really very different. I mean...
without going into details of each religion, just the concept that it even exists.
Yeah. It depends what angle we take. If we take, from Adam and going down in different languages and all that. Something that's coming up is in Judaism we're not about everyone converting to Judaism.
Right.
There's space for other paths, and which is unique in a lot of ways. There's a story with Shlomo Carlebach, who was, I think it was in Toronto, the Symposium of World Religions, and he gets up, he's the last speaker, he plays some music, and he says, I've been sitting here all weekend and hearing one after the other, everyone getting up and saying how, we're going up the same mountain to the same peak, we're just walking different paths. And he says, I humbly have to disagree. Everyone's shocked, like, what? It's a rabbi? What is it? He says, we're not walking different paths. We're walking the same path. We're just wearing different shoes. Which I think is really deep, because any valid spiritual path or deep spiritual path, right, you go through milestones, right? It's also in addiction recovery or growth, there's certain milestones that you need to get through, and you go here and you turn a left and you take a right, and and then you go up and you go down, and right. So I don't know if it's entirely true, because the religions do have different paths, and there are different there are differences there, but what he was saying, I think, is that there's our tradition in Judaism is uniquely designed for our soul as a people. You know, just like everyone's shoes and feet are different, and you need to have different shoes. So our souls are different, and the people are different, and okay, so we have different paths, different shoes to get there.
Okay, you just explained to me why souls and souls are the same word.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if there's. It feels complete. The conversation feels complete. Is there anything to tie up? Any loose ends that we have to tie up here? How does it feel to you? It feels good.
I didn't want to talk about any of this.
Perfect. Perfect. What were you planning to talk about?
Deep inner work, psychological addiction.
We've already had all these conversations. That's all been dissected and redissected.
Nice.
The funny because I opened up to one page of the of your book, and it was a story about someone taking a flower and dissecting it into many different pieces.
Yeah, oh, you read that, nice.
Yeah, and how it takes the life out of something.
Yeah.
You overanalyze something, you take the life out of it. So I think we've dissected the psychology from every angle here.
Oh, yeah? Great.
I'm not sure.
There's always another leaf to turn.
Another leaf, another way to kill it. Another way to kill ourselves. That's hard. But okay, I appreciate it. I enjoyed the conversation. I'm glad you pulled me out of retirement for this one.
Great.
Any final thoughts? Any closing?
Wonderful. Any final thoughts? No, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to have this conversation.
Thank you. And if there's someone interested in, you mentioned your work stands on 3 legs: Torah, psychology, and sustainability was the third?
And sustainability, yeah.
Okay, so we didn't touch on the psychology at all, and I have no intention of that here. I feel like the conversation is complete and it's good, but you do work with people, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I mostly do. Yeah.
Okay,
so I have a private practice. I deal with trauma, addiction, anxiety, work with individuals and couples and families, and
in Israel over Zoom.
Israel over Zoom, in the States
Both.
a lot, around the world sometimes.
Okay, so if someone's interested in working with you, is there a website? Is there?
Yeah, I have a website. It's elson-psychotherapy.com.
Elson, little hyphen?
Little hyphen, yeah.
Psychotherapy.
Psychotherapy.com. You can Google my name and find it. I run courses throughout the year also. I run a transformation course through Sefirot Omer and the Sefirot. And then I also run a course over Elul and Tishrei, going through that whole thing. And then a meditation and mindfulness course that I haven't run for a few years, but I think this year I'll be running it.
And you do that online? All of this online?
Yeah, all these are online.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
neat. And your book's available on Amazon?
Book's available on Amazon. I'm writing another book on Elul and Tishrei that'll be out for next Elul, B'ezrat Hashem. And it's also a very in-depth, step-by-step, guide to we have the paradigm of a relationship, a marriage or a wedding, right, of the Yamim Narayim. So it uses that model, goes step by step, really in depth on each component of that. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Great conversation.
Thank you.